I've been at Booth for a little over 4 weeks now, and in this video I will share everything I have learned and everything you need to know if you're planning on coming to Booth. I'm gonna leave timestamps in the bottom so you can jump around the video. Let's get it. First, before you even start school, you will have the opportunity to go on a trip with 15 other of your first year classmates and 4 second years that act as guides for the trip. There are a lot of options to pick from. You generally rank your top 5, and then based on availability, you get placed on one of your options. There is a ranking system that ranks the different places based on different categories. For example, I went to Croatia, which was actually my first choice, and Croatia is known as a party destination. So it had nightlife as its highest category. So based on these categories, you can pick a country that is perfect for you. Now, in terms of pricing, it is definitely not the cheapest trip. The trip is booked through an agency called World Strides, which will cost you about $2,000 to $3,000 depending on the country, and it will come with plane tickets, hotels, and some pre-booked activities. In addition to that, you will have to pay for whatever you consume there. So it is definitely an investment, but I recommend it 100%. Some of my closest friends were made on that trip, and it is a good way to come to your first day of class and already have a solid group of friends. So if you have the time, if you're willing to make the financial sacrifice, I think it is something that everyone in Booth should do. So hopefully you get to do it, and once you're done with that, it's time to start classes. In terms of academics, I'm going to mention 3 main things. Starting with the quarter system. Booth has quarters instead of semesters. So the year is basically broken down into a fall, a winter, a spring, and a summer quarter. Generally, you take classes in the first 3 quarters, and summer is normally used for your summer internship. In Booth, you need to take 20 classes to graduate. That means that you will have 2 quarters with 4 classes and 4 quarters with only 3 classes. People generally take the lighter loads when they're recruiting or doing something else, so you can really adjust your schedule however it works for you. To create your class schedule, Booth has a software called iBid, which is awesome. It is very modern and includes a lot of information such as classes offered, when they are available, how you're tracking towards graduation, and many more things. One of the things included here is the bidding system. Booth has a supply and demand way to offer classes. You start off with 8,000 bid points and accumulate 2,000 additional bid points for every class taken. You can then use these bid points to bid for classes. This way, the people that really want a particular class can save up and spend their bid points as they wish. The last thing I will mention about academics is that Booth has a great non-disclosure policy. What this means is that the student body got together and decided that employers can't ask for your GPA when you're applying to jobs. All you have to do is pass the class. This lowers the pressure related to classes, but I will say that if you want to take the classes seriously, they do take a lot of time. Overall, it is a lot like undergrad besides these 3 points. I will say that if this was your only worry, the MBA would be extremely easy, but there is one thing that people go through in their first quarter that takes most of their time. I'm sure you've heard the MBA will be the best years of your life, and it's mostly true, except for the fact that you have to recruit and actually get a job. This process is industry dependent, so I'll focus on banking since it is what I'm doing post-MBA and what I have heard the most about. Both banking and consulting recruiting starts shortly after your first day of class. So you show up, by day 3, you're already getting emails about recruiting. There are a lot of events that you have to go to. For example, for banking, you can expect to be on campus Monday to Friday, some days from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and always wearing a suit and tie, which sucks. This process for banking and consulting lasts from September to January, and there are different types of events in those months. There are information sessions where companies basically come and talk about themselves, what they do, and the open opportunities they have. There's also networking sessions, which are in smaller groups. So imagine a group of 4 people with someone from the company, and you get to talk to them. Then the famous coffee chats. These are one-on-one conversations with people from the company that you're recruiting for, and here you can be asked any behavioral questions and sometimes even technical questions if you're doing banking. And then lastly, after all these sessions, you will get invited to invite-only events, which is the next step in the process where they cut some people. And then lastly, in December or January, depending on your process, you finally get to interview if you're invited, and hopefully after interviewing you'll have a few offers to choose from. So expect your first quarter to be very, very packed. If you have industry specific questions, I'll be having conversations with my classmates next year, so if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. One of the biggest questions I had when coming was, where am I gonna live and how am I gonna get to Hyde Park? So if you don't know, Booth is in Hyde Park, which is in the southern part of Chicago, and most of the student body actually lives in the Loop, which is downtown. And there are three main buildings that students live at. There are Millennium Park Plaza, or MPP, Mila, and 73 East Lake. They are located very close to each other, but Millennium Park Plaza is probably the most affordable option and where most of the student population lives. The one con is that you don't have laundry in unit, but you do save some money, which is always important. Mila and 73 are more or less the same when it comes to pricing. They also have great amenities. The one thing that I'll mention is that 73 has an indoor pool area and a sauna, which is awesome, and it's going to be very important for the winter months. The price for all these buildings change constantly, but if you go to their website, you can see up-to-date pricing, so you can make your selection. Now, in terms of commuting, I would say there are three main options. Obviously, if you have a car, you can just drive to the campus, which is probably the easiest option, and it should only take you like 20 minutes. The one problem with this would be to find parking, but besides that, it's awesome. The same timing applies if you want to be a big baller and Uber every day, but obviously would not be the smart financial decision. And thirdly, there's a pretty good and fast train that goes to a station that leaves you 5 minutes away from Booth, and it's called the Metro. You just have to get an app called Ventra and look for the train leaving Millennium Station and going to 59th Street. The trains leave every 20 to 30 minutes, and it should only take like 15 to 20 minutes to get there. This is the option that I personally take. It costs $7.5 per day, so it is not the cheapest public transit, but I would say it's definitely cheaper than Uber. And the station is a 3-minute walk from the three buildings I mentioned, so if you do end up living there, it's very, very convenient. This is a summary of most of the things I learned in my first month as a Booth MBA student. Hopefully it was useful to you and you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to subscribe, drop a like, and let me know if you have any other questions in the comments. We drop videos every Wednesday, so we'll see you next week. Peace.